Cold Steel has a trainer version of the Recon Tanto knife, and in this video I want to talk about why it would be good to consider getting one if you are a fan of the Recon Tanto or carry one. The Recon Tanto is a very popular knife from Cold Steel, and as a YouTuber who talks about knives, I've had a lot of conversations with people about this knife, and I know a lot of people love it and have it. Try to stick around for the end of the video because after I explain a few things, I'm going to get into some basic knife drills and some ways that you can train with this by yourself. 3 common weapons that people carry all the time are these, knives, and pistols. And I believe we should train equally across the board in all of those. A knife is actually a very commonly carried defense weapon. It's also something that is commonly perceived as a defense weapon. But it's not something that's commonly trained with. You know, we get out and we train in boxing, we get out on the range and pow, pow, pow. You know, we shoot our targets, but how often are we doing knife drills and actually training in the area of knife combat? So let's take a look at the Recon Tanto trainer. It's just like a plastic material here. It's a wide piece of plastic right here so you don't cut yourself. This is totally safe to use in training. I still recommend some kind of face protection if you're training one-on-one with another individual because that can still poke you in the eye. It's not going to slice if it comes across the skin, and it's safe for you to do drills with. I was out here the other day doing some, what I consider to be advanced training with a Master Tanto and a Warcraft Tanto, and I was doing some two-handed drills and combos. And after I got done, I thought to myself, man, that's very, very dangerous. And I wouldn't even recommend that kind of stuff to somebody new to knife training unless they were using trainer blades. The martial arts school that I grew up training in was a mixed bag. I mean, we trained in pretty much everything. We trained everything: karate, wrestling, Muay Thai, kickboxing, elements of Kali, which included weapons. And that's kind of how I got an introduction just to the world of knives and martial arts. You can pick up this trainer for a really inexpensive price. I think it's about 10 bucks on Amazon. It's about the same everywhere else. If you're new to the concept of knife training, I'm going to be providing just some real simple things for you to take away. I'm not going to dive too deep into this video. I just want to give you some basic things you can work with, and really the basic things are the best in my opinion. First and foremost, don't get in a knife fight unless it's the only way that you can survive. Don't get in a knife fight over pride. Don't get into some duel because you will get cut. Don't pay any attention to the movies. Knife fighting, nobody wins in that. That is a situation where you have no other option but to do so in order to survive. That being said, there are fundamentals that I still believe that we should learn, because sometimes you may have an attacker who just wants to kill you but doesn't have a knife. As far as stance and position is concerned, when you're boxing, your strong hand is in the back. Your strong leg is usually in the back. The difference between knife fighting and boxing is it's the exact opposite. You put your knife and your dominant hand in the front, okay, and keep your hand back. You don't want to give them anything they can grab, and if they have a knife, you don't want to give them anything they can cut. So keep your other hand back and your dominant hand and weapon in the front. The reason we don't knife fight with our dominant hand in the back is because we've got to reach further in to do what we need to do, and we're leaving them a target they can cut. When it's here, they have less targets they can cut, and you've got more reach from this location. Now, in knife fighting and defense, you have traditional grip this way, or this way, however you prefer, and then you have reverse grip. I'm going to show you 9 angles with traditional grip. Okay, you have an X angle. That's just a drill you can practice over and over, just doing a clean X. Okay, then you have horizontal this way, you have straight down, you have thrust, you have a thrust this way, you have a thrust this way, a thrust this way, and then a straightforward thrust. Those are 9 different angles or moves within traditional grip that can be used and put together in a flow with your training. Something else to keep in mind, and some trainers may disagree with me on this, some may agree with just long, wide flow. I think it's important to stay within the radius of the attack area. You don't want to get too far outside of that because it can slow you down. You want to stay within that range. With reverse grip, blade out, you can do an X motion for stabbing. You can thrust from the side, both ends, upwards, downwards, and then transition to slice, and then the forward thrust. Just have to train in movement with these drills until you kind of get familiar, and kind of understand, how they might work and how they might look in real life, because an untrained person's just, going to be swinging wild, which that's dangerous, but you don't have to swing wild and uncalculated. You can kind of understand how the knife flows. For example, a lot of people might swing this way and then they'll draw back and swing again, versus knowing their angles and being able to come right back in. Once you understand your angles, you can become faster and more instinctive and just continue to get out and train with your blade and train in the motions. You can also get out and spar with someone else. Again, you might want to protect your eyes, but get out and spar with someone. Get into some real life movement. Make sure they're not being cooperative and see what you can accomplish. I also like to use a century bob to practice angles on. You'd be surprised what it feels like to actually have something to strike that resembles the human body. Another takeaway is don't just stand in one spot and do the drills. Don't just stand in one place. Incorporate circular movement like a real life situation. In my time of doing karate, we did something called katas. I'm sure most of you know what a kata is. A kata in and of itself is not going to teach somebody how to fight, but it will help them a lot with fighting because it teaches you a circular flow of motion. It has been very helpful for me throughout time in learning how to flow all together in the area of combat. Another thing to take away with regards to knife training is begin to see the knife as an extension of the human body. Let me give you a couple of examples. We may come in and strike this way. We may strike back this way. We may come in with a forward thrust or jab like that. Well, a knife is doing those things for us. It's just giving us more reach. Even think about this. You think about things like a hook. Well, the knife can come in with a thrust. So when you begin to see the knife as one with the human body, or at best an extension of the human body, you're able to put a lot of things together in your understanding. Again, these are just some basics that you can get out and train. If you can get really familiar with the angles, you'll begin to develop your own system of movement. You'll become more instinctive and much more prepared to handle yourself if you ever have to use a knife in a real life defensive situation. But I think the Recon Tanto trainer is a really good thing to have if you have a Recon Tanto, if you have it around for defense, or if it's something that you carry. And I wanted to introduce this tool to you today. Thank you so much for watching, and take care.